Yes.
What I missed was I thought about things from my perspective on how I was going to do business, and I left out the most important thing, which was what my clients are going to demand. Nobody wants their carpets cleaned at dinner time. Nobody wants their carpets cleaned on the weekend. It was a brutally hard lesson that I learned. That prevented that company from getting off the ground.
What do you think are some of the most important qualities or personality traits of a person that is considering entrepreneurship? What should they be looking for in themselves? So maybe what should they be cautious of, like strengths and weaknesses through the lens of entrepreneurship?
Sure. I think they have to have confidence. Unlike a job and working for someone, you don't have a manager or a boss watching everything you do or that you can go to. You're it. You're everything. You have to have a level of confidence that's going to enable you to meet the challenges that are going to come at you fast and furious. And they are. That's number one. And I think you have to also be honest with yourself as to why you're getting into business. What's motivating you to do it? What are you going to expect from this entity? You know, a lot of people go into business as a side hustle. They have their main job and they want to do something with the goal of either just doing it on the side or eventually transitioning. I think you have to be realistic on what you expect out of the business, you know, before you take the leap.
Time frames, especially.
Sure.
Time frames and expectations. You laid out a very positive example of people that are thinking about pursuing entrepreneurship or taking that step and actually seeking advising. Mm-hmm. Another less charitable type of personality or type of situation that I know that I've seen, I'm sure you've seen many times too, is somebody that may have just gotten laid off or someone that's considering quitting or has already quit and they walk in the door and they're like, I have a plan for a business. And there's an unrealistic expectation that you're going to turn this idea into a money-making machine that's going to take over your income stream from that job. I think the idea of patience is important, right? And it's a weird combination. There's something, I'm curious actually for your thoughts on this, because I hear this from people that have kind of broken through the ceiling and made it to that next level where like, I'm actually making sales and I'm profitable and I hired somebody. It's a very cool experience. I hear that one of the things that brings them through wasn't necessarily a blind optimism, but a sort of naive optimism. If I would have known all of the struggles and pains that I would have had to go through in order to make this work, there's no way I would have been like, yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do. What do you think? How should people consider that? Now that we're bringing it up, it's less likely for anyone that's listening to be blindly optimistic now. So I kind of ruined it for
No, I don't think you ruined it. I think kind of what we're discussing here, the heart of it is planning, which I'm a big believer in. I've actually, I come from a family of small business. I actually watched my father map out his business on the cliche napkin. Ideas. Back then, a lot of people just had this attitude of I'm gonna jump and then figure out how to swim. That has pros and cons to it. The pros are you now have to figure it out. Failure is not an option. The cons are you may not have thought about all the obstacles that are going to smack you in the face. I think there's that you can balance out that excitement of starting a venture, but I think you really are shortchanging yourself if you don't sit down and start doing some level of planning. Here at the SBDC, we tend to impart the importance of a business plan with our clients. It is important. I tell my clients a business plan doesn't have to be 30, 40 pages with graphs and footnotes and all that because quite frankly, no one reads it. Some of the best plans that I've seen are 10 pages or less, and it's with purpose. What am I doing? Who are my customers? How am I going to find them? Who has my money? So on and so forth. And we'll go through those exercises with them. And I think it's better because it'll give them some ammunition in the pocket, for when those things do hit, they'll know how to, address them because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So planning is big in my opinion, and even the best laid plans are ones that don't always work out the way you intend because you're gonna get curveballs. Yeah, but it just gives you a chance.
I wonder. So that's a really good point because you can't plan for everything.
No.
But what a business plan does is it gives you a really good structure of areas that you should probably be thinking about. You know, even if we're not building a business plan to go get loans or to do anything externally with the power of it internally is monumental, because it gets that business, like we say, it gets the business idea out of your head and onto paper.
Right.
For somebody that is not inclined to make a business plan. Thinking of entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes, and there's probably some really good ideas and really good executors out there that it doesn't come naturally to them to like sit down and go take a business plan section by section. How do we mitigate that? How do we get that, you know, even from our perspective as advisors, what do we do, or what's within our capability to assist them to get to a place where they're able to execute? Like what are options? Basically, how do you overcome that kind of weakness? Do you just have to say, sorry, man, you better sit down and work this plan out? Or
Yeah, I don't, I mean, let's face it, most of us go through our lives without ever having to go through the task of writing a business plan. A lot of business owners that we know that are out there right now never did it and will never do it. And that's fine. Everyone's different. I try to tell people not to get overwhelmed, because the moment you hear the word business plan, people start to tighten up, the same as if you tell them they have to get up and give a public address. You know, it's like they start to get on like that. That's not in my comfort zone. But you have to start thinking about this business in a bunch of different areas. Now, whether you formalize that in a plan or just sit down and write notes, because whenever someone's looking to start a business, their brain is firing constantly. They have all these ideas. Oh, that's a great idea. That's something I should sell. Maybe I'll do this differently. How are you going to remember all that? You have to start getting it down. So does it have to be a formalized, nice presentation plan? No, it depends on who the audience is. If you're going to seek out financing, then you want to present that in a professional manner, which we can help you with at the SBDC. But the core of the exercise that I try to get through to my clients is that, can you articulate what it is you're about to do? That's the important thing. And if you can't answer those questions, it doesn't mean you're not cut out for it, but maybe you're not ready just yet. And even going through all the questions and everything you think of, it's hard to hit everything. And you have to look at it from what you expect as a business owner, and you better think about it from your client's perspective. And that's where you have to spend the time. And I'll give you a personal example. So I've owned a couple of businesses. My first one was a carpet cleaning company. Thought about everything. At least I thought. Did everything, did all the research, spent a year and a half doing it, got my equipment, got my van, got everything done. And at the time I was in banking. I was working full time, but I was in that pool of people who wanted to start a side hustle and then transition out of it. I have a full-time job. I have to work Monday through Friday during the day. So my thought process is, well, I'll hustle at night when I get out of work. Did everything right, advertised, the phone was ringing, people loved what I was offering. It was a different kind of cleaning, an eco-friendly type of thing. Phone was ringing, but what was happening was, Mrs. Smith's on the phone. I'd like to get my carpet cleaned. Okay, when would you like it done? I'm off on Tuesday. How about Tuesday at 10 a.m.? I got to work. I can't do that. So now I found myself in this cycle of, I'm booked. I'm sorry. I can do it at 5. No, that's no good. How about the following week at Wednesday at 11 a.m.? So you see, what I missed was I thought about things from my perspective on how I was going to do business, and I left out the most important thing, which was what my clients are going to demand. Nobody wants their carpets cleaned at dinner time. Nobody wants their carpets cleaned on the weekend. It was a brutally hard lesson that I learned. And that prevented that company from getting off the ground. I ended up selling it to someone who actually made a go of it.
Wow.
But it didn't work in the confines of what I was looking for. So the moral is, you have to think about everything. And you have to think about what your clients are going to need, because they're the ones who are going to ring the cash register for you.
Well, and it's like you have to think about everything, but there are priorities, right? And I think that you nailed a priority, and this goes so perfect with what we're talking about. Like, are you ready to be an entrepreneur? Is entrepreneurship right for you? In the sense of, do you need to be the star, or are you the center of your own universe? We all are. Like my thought process, like, we're all the stars of our own movies, and everyone in our lives are supporting actors and actresses. So I'm a supporting actor in Sarah's life, and Sarah is a supporting actress in my life. But that's the way that everything goes. I think a huge mindset piece for entrepreneurship is starting to vocalize or internalize that thought process of, I want to be a supporting actor in your life. In all of my customers' lives. And that puts their needs first. It puts their thinking, their lifestyle. And that's when we go and we talk about the psychographics, when we talk about the demographics and why all that stuff matters. That story like perfectly encapsulates why and how that information, that being client centric, matters so much. Because you're not going to make it if you don't think about that and put that first, but it goes into that priorities.
Right.
Priority has to be the customer. It's one of the things that I tell a lot of my clients. I would try to avoid using words like business plan. But I'm going to have you think about it without saying the words. So I'd say, think about the customer journey. Where do they exist right now? Where are the people that are going to buy your product? Where are they now? And then now let's think about I want you to walk me through or start figuring out the entire process from them having no idea who you are to you sending them a bouquet of flowers, thanking them for their time, and them recording the testimonial for you out of their own, thought process. So let's start thinking about it that way. And then once they start identifying, like, oh, I'm going to reach out to them on social media. I'm like, okay, cool. Which platforms? And then the SBDC can be that bouncing board, the reflecting board. There's a right term for that.
A soundboard.
There it is.
There you go.
See?
You were close.
There we go.
A reflecting board, I think you said.
Yeah, reflecting. Like
Close
the reflecting
enough.
pool.
Close enough.
So it's going to be the sounding board in those situations. So once they start saying it, then like we can help you drill down a little bit deeper. But if you want to do it on your own, then it's just a matter of once you walk through, you create that arc of the journey. Okay, they see my social media post, and then they click on this link. And when they click on the link, they see these offers. Then you just start saying, well, how? How? Like, how are they seeing the social media post? Oh, well, someone has to make it. And then you ask how in each one of those steps,
Right.
and you're good. But you brought up a good point, talking about like the why and the original passion and purpose. How big of a role is it that you've seen with people who have kind of made it through that threshold of wanting to do it, to becoming profitable, to wanting to do it and not getting profitable? Is there any sort of meaningful, relevant difference between somebody that's like, I just want to start a business. I don't really care what it is. I just want to make it work and I want it to make money. Versus somebody that's like, I love making cupcakes. My whole life has been making cupcakes and my friends ate them and they loved them. And I can do what I love and make money and I want to do it. Is there any sort of, does it matter? Is one more inclined to potentially make it through than the other?
Well, everyone has their own reason why they want to start a business. You've got the people who've got the passion for what they do, and you have people who just are after the money. And that's fine. But you have to be true to what it is, why you're starting the business. If you're doing it just to make money, there's no shame in that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not making money, you're not in business. So,
Amen.
And I have that conversation with clients too. They love what they do, and we've discussed this, and it especially happens with new clients coming in. The emotions are high, the excitement is high. I love that part of it. I love the first meeting with a client to ask them, what made you decide to start this? And their eyes light up and they're so excited. And I love taking that ride with them. We embrace it, we absorb it. But at some point, we have to put the emotions aside and we have to look at the business, because at the end of the day, the business doesn't care about how we feel. The numbers don't care about how we feel. And I use the popular show Shark Tank as an example, because I have yet to find any entrepreneur that's come through these doors who doesn't know what the show is and who hasn't watched it. And I ask them, what's the recurring theme in there? When you watch the show, it starts the same way every show. The story comes out, the emotions, but then they get down to business. They want to know what's happening. That's the same journey that you take, when you come through these doors, or if you are not coming through these doors, if you're doing it yourself.
Right.
It's okay to enjoy the passion and the excitement, but at the end of the day, this is something that needs to work. So you do have to put some thought into that. So whether your drive is passion or making money, or a combination of the both, whatever it is, you just have to put the time in, I think.
Yeah.
Before you jump.
I wonder if there's a meaningful correlation between or connection between entrepreneurship and small business ownership and those kind of mindsets. But I think that an entrepreneur might be more focused on the business processes, creating systems, and packaging and reselling that set of systems and processes. So I don't have a massage parlor. I have a front end desk system. I have a rotational shift system. And you can literally plug in anybody you want that's trained in these systems to come in here. So I can just sell my business to you. You can completely clear out the personnel, but the systems are in place.
Yeah.
And I see entrepreneurs kind of more in that light versus somebody who wants to start their own business. It's like the idea of succession in your mind when you start. And I love the E-Myth Revealed book. Michael Gerber?
I'll have to check it out.
But it's a really good one. It's like the myth of entrepreneurship.
Right.
The E-Myth, yeah. Who is it? Michael Gerber. Nailed it.
Okay, there you go.
It's
You're
literally
on.
the first time I've ever
You were
been able
on.
to nail an author in a book together.
Don't second guess yourself.
That plays any role, or what considerations should somebody that's starting out with their idea think about the idea of small business ownership versus entrepreneurship? Should they even think about it? Doesn't even matter. Is it even relevant for them as far as mindset and taking the next steps?
No, they better think about it. Having a business is like having a child. It demands your attention 24/7. It demands to be fed. It demands to be coddled. You're in it. It's not a thing that you can just shut off. We see this with clients who have developed very established businesses. If they want to take a vacation, they're still thinking about the business. Have I gotten myself to the point where I have a team that can manage things when I'm gone? So you're always thinking about the business, and you have to be. That is part of the consideration, and that's one of the things that we'll discuss with clients to get an idea of what do you want out of it. Because we do get clients who they just want a side hustle. They want to share their passion with other people. The money maybe is secondary. I have a new client, a retiree. She's got a great business idea. It's a passion of hers. I think she's going to do well, but she's not going to be reliant on the income from it.
Right.
But it's her passion. So that's part of figuring out, why are you doing this? If it's a situation that you mentioned earlier where unfortunately you're downsized, and now it's like now's the time where I'm going to do this business. Okay, well, hopefully you've got some planning under your belt, and now you're taking the leap.
Right.
Right. But it's really going to take some really disciplined focus because you've already jumped.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah,
So-
you can do it, but you have to have exactly like you said, you have to have already kind of been mentally game planning it out.
Mhm.
Beyond,
And most people do.
Yeah.
Most people do.
Yes. And then there also has to be a pool of resources because you can't expect to be making money very quickly. Some business, but that's not always true. And that's the beautiful thing. And that's the reason why places like the SBDC exist. Because
Right.
if it was as simple as here's the checklist, do 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10, and then your business is up and running, then there would be no need for this. Everyone would have their own business. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Right.
If it was straightforward, we all think about it.
Right.
But it's complex.
It is. And you mentioned the checklist. In a perfect world, I would love to be able to sit with a client and say, here's step 1 through 20 or whatever it is. The reality is there are multiple step ones. I can't tell you what the first step is. We can identify things that need to be tended to concurrently. But what I try to do is examine that list and do it in a fashion that's going to make financial sense. For example, we get people coming in to see us who created their LLC or created their corporation, have everything ready to go, and then they come in and say, well, I don't know what to do. Okay, well, what are you selling? I don't know yet. Okay, that's okay.
And
It is, a sense of a cart before the horse type of thing.
A little bit.
But let's work on it. So that's something that maybe can wait. Forming your entity, it's exciting. You want to feel like I have the idea, I've got the name, I created it. That's fine. That's something that can wait, because what a lot of people don't realize is once you create that entity, it exists. It's living and breathing. Now, you have to do a tax return.
Yep.
You may have to do quarterly sales tax reports. But I don't have a business. I haven't sold anything. State doesn't care. IRS doesn't care. They want the tax return. They want those sales tax reports.
It can show. Yeah, exactly, with zeros. Yep.
So it's so part of what we do here is try to educate on the process, and identify a plan of attack that's going to work for the individual client, because every client's different, every business is different. What they should do is dependent on their situation, more so than their business. So it's a lot of detective work and just having a dialogue so we can figure out the goal of the SBDC, and for any client who's listening to this or thinking about using us, the goal for us is to help you get to the finish line to a successful business. And we can help you in a myriad of ways. It's not just loans.
Right.
It's a lot of things. It's a lot of listening on our part, a lot of talking on your part as the client, and trying to get to a customized solution that's going to work for you. And it's very participatory. We need you to participate, and we need to be honest with ourselves and be realistic with what the expectations are, because just throwing numbers out there into the sky is not going to help anyone. They have to be realistic. So there's a lot that we do here at the SBDC to really try to help the individual client on what it is they're trying to accomplish.
I think it's a really good point when we're thinking about what their goals are. And I hope that one of the things that people can walk away from here with is the reality or the realization that your goal doesn't have to become a millionaire. It doesn't have to be, this is going to be my full-time, all-encompassing job or position. Like, you can create that piece of crochet. And you can sell it.
Sure.
And you could do that if you enjoy doing it and you would like to have that hobby pay for itself. That side hustle is a side business. I think that especially when you start speaking about entrepreneurship, we tend to think of angel investors and you're starting this crazy hustle business, and it's taking all this time and energy, and you're out there making millions, and if you're not doing that and you're not networking at all these events, then you're not doing it. And it comes in so many shapes and forms.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that, like, when you're in that conversation with that client, it's a lot of listening, because we want to know that purpose, the why. What is the why? Is it to share your culture with other people? Is it to replace the job? Is it to start a legacy that you can hand down to your family?
Yeah.
All of those things require different planning.
Absolutely.
Do you have any other thoughts when it comes to somebody who is considering entrepreneurship? Any bidding farewell, walk away with this idea, this notion?
Yeah, I would say don't be fearful of it, but certainly be ready to put the work in, because it's only going to benefit you in the end and benefit the business in the end. As I said at the start of this, old school mentality is maybe just to jump in and figure it out. I'm not discounting that, because there's a lot of successful entrepreneurs and businesses out there who have done that, who continue to do that. That's fine. You're just taking more of a risk in doing so. So I would say if you have the desire to start a business, then go for it. Just be ready to put the work in. Look for your local SBDC. Reach out to us if you're watching and you're in this area, or if you're not in this area. There are SBDCs in every state in the country, so you have resources to help you.